We recording? Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Mighty Pixel Podcast, hosted by me. You know me, Steve Berry, your favorite creative consultant, creative manager here at AdBird. Today, I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about content. All right, content is king. Content is really your means to mitigating that ad spend. And who better to talk to it than a good friend of mine, Corshawn? So this interview is about Corshawn and his core content creator program, and it's a good talk, and I want to share it with you. So let's dive right in. All right, so now
Oh
I got it
man.
going. All right, so I just came up with this because I've been working with clients and everybody's scared about making content, right? And I was like, you know what? Let's just jump on the Zoom. And I kept bringing up stuff you had said, like it's gonna look kind of crappy the first couple times. So let's just make it. Let's get crappy with it. Let's
Yeah,
just,
you got to start messy. Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, and I always bring you up. So I figured, who better than to start talking to Korshawn, right? So,
Absolutely.
so break it down. Let's jump right in, right? We got
Okay.
uh share a bit about your background and what led you to being that content coach.
Oh man. So I've always been just passionate about storytelling and then, helping other people communicate their ideas effectively. And then just after years of working in content, videography, photography, and creating content for other people, I noticed some pretty reoccurring things. Many of the small business owners struggle just to create content that truly resonated with their audience. This actually inspired me to transition into the coaching space and not so much just actually being behind the lens and shooting, but coming away from behind the lens and actually communicating with people because I kept hearing the same thing. And I knew that I could actually empower entrepreneurs to harness the power of content to actually grow their business. And that was something that I want to see people actually do because I can remember when I first got in front of the camera and you go through all these different feelings, emotions, whether it is self doubt, imposter syndrome, because in reality, we spent time perfecting, improving, and increasing our abilities as it relates to our business. And when it comes to content, camera presence, articulation, framing, lighting, the best gear, all these things have not been on the forefront for us. We've been focusing on actually managing and being high level producers and performers as it relates to our business. And I recognize that I could bring something to the table, being it was a unique experience, being that I was at one point behind the camera, and then I jumped in front of the camera, and I could help people to transition from just being, so to speak, behind the camera, being that they're invisible and they're just working in their business, to getting in front of it. And actually, once you are coached the correct way, you'll see how easy it is because you don't necessarily have to become a different person. You just have to get comfortable with the fact that the eye of the camera is watching you and become intentional with producing and representing yourself the way that you want to be seen on camera because essentially you're showing people what it is that you do and you're explaining what it is that you do, which is what you do every single day. The only thing that's different is you just have to train to do it differently.
Right, they're the expert, right? They know best. Right? They
Absolutely.
just got to be themselves.
Yeah.
Right? I always tell them like you're the star. You know what to do, right? So, uh, you kind of touched on it, but like, talk about some of the common struggles small business owners face when they're making this content.
Well, they are afraid to get in front of the camera because, like everyone else, including myself, we have some of these, I'll say they're like demons that we're fighting, right? I don't look good enough. I'm not, as well put together as this person or that person. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to talk about. Is this thing even on? They wrestle with a lot of these things that are technical, that are subjective. And in reality, you just have to build a repetition. You go through a routine. It's the exact same as anything actually that you do in your business and that you do well. You identify the key performance indicators of this particular thing that you're doing, and you do it routinely on a regular basis, and you're going to actually get better at it. Most business owners struggle with camera presence if you're not accustomed to communicating to a camera. Even if, with some people, if you are very well spoken and you're really effective with communicating with other human beings, it can be challenging if you're going to be talking to a camera. And all that it's going to be is still, at the end of the day, is training and practicing. Then struggling with what to talk about. What do I say? I have that figured out. I can give you a plan and a system where you could talk about endless things, and you'll get to a point to once you identify your topic that you want to be known for, in which little do you know you've already did that. The hardest part is already done. You've identified a key subject that you want to own. Like for me, right now, people know Corshawn for being the content coach. They know me for producing content. They know me from working with different people and producing content. So I have worked to own a conversation. And so in the business space, you already own a conversation. Now we just have to train you up to actually start articulating about that subject. And once you start, and you get to a point that you forget the camera is pointing at you and you have audio capturing you, you're going to lose yourself in the conversation. You're going to be able to communicate exactly what it is that you do because you already know exactly what it is that you do.
Man, I say that my favorite one is the realtor that I talked to. They like I'm a realtor. I didn't know I had to make content. I didn't know I had to be a content creator, you know what I mean? But talk about why it's essential. What can that realtor do to own it, and to get out there today.
So in reality, we have to remember what are the things that are important to us as realtors, as business owners. We want to attract attention. And once we attract that attention, we want to direct that attention. And in order for us to get attention, we have to do something that's requiring of attention, right? And so ideally, you have to get to a point to where you're not invisible. That's the very first step, right? And after you're not invisible, do you have something to talk about? And so essentially, what we're talking about is, do you have charisma where people will have interest in getting to know you? Once they get to know you, will they like you? Will you have enough depth and relevance to where they'll trust you? And the best way for that to happen, we already know there are studies that have proven this. People need at least 11 touch points. They need at least about 7 hours worth of content consumption and or FaceTime with you. So they want to hear more from you directly. And so when you think about yourself as a realtor, you want to get in front of people. You're bringing people out for your showing. You want them to check your listing. You want them to like you as a person. You want them to look at you like you're the expert in your field. If they're wondering whether or not they want to buy this house, you want them to look to you to ask you questions about, tell me about the area, tell me about the schools, are there dog parks in the area, will me and my family be safe, can I trust you with that information? And so the best thing that you can do, the way that this translates into content, is you're creating content and giving people binge worthy content. You're producing content that actually meets your goals, right? Your goals as well as theirs. And one of those goals is going to be, you're going to increase your visibility. You're going to stop being invisible and start being influential. When they see you, you want them to know that they already know you, they already like you, and they can trust you. How do you build that trust? By creating content that offers value and information that they're already looking for as someone who's looking for a home. And as a realtor, we already know you've done the research. You know all the information. You know all the ins and outs. You know exactly how to prepare people to take this journey. And so now all that you have to do is you have to take them on that journey through the lens of the camera. And here's the sweet part about this, the way that it communicates effectively. Once you do it, it's happening on autopilot. You've actually replicated yourself. You've created another copy of yourself, giving this great information that's happening even in your sleep. So
Right.
little do you know, when you create content effectively, it's going to actually answer all the questions and fulfill all the concerns that they've thought of even before time, before they even thought about it. This is exactly why it's important to make sure that you're using a system when it comes to creating your content where you're actually doing the research and you articulating the correct information to your audience. Because once that happens, they're going to keep coming back again and again and again. And this is exactly what you want when you're in that real estate space.
No doubt. Another big issue with clients is that, they come through AdBird and we set them up and they're ready to go out and they think they're ready to start ad campaigns, but then they quickly realize that in order to compete, in order to get in front of that client, like you're saying, that ad spend racks up really fast, right? So talk about how content mitigates that by getting in front of people, stop being invisible, how that mitigates the ad spend.
So let's think about things in the context of you're just meeting people, right? And when you meet someone, you have a pretty good idea as to whether or not there's chemistry, if you want to have a 10-second conversation with them, or if you want to have an hour-long conversation, or they're that type of person that you can see yourself spending hours in the car with. When you create organic content, people are going to be able to figure this out when they see you, when they hear you, when you articulate and share your message. They're going to be able to determine this. This is really important, right? Because let's say that you spent money, you spent ad dollars to get yourself in front of people, and you don't even know if they're your people, if they're your audience.
Right.
When you create organic content, your organic content is going to travel and your content is going to find those people that are your people, and your people are going to find your content. And when that happens, when you offer the right information that they're actually looking for, because they're looking for you, they're looking for your expertise, they're looking for your experience. When they find that, they're going to keep coming back. Now, we already know that social media is an amazing engine when it comes to the algorithm. And so your content and them, they're going to keep crossing paths. Let's say that you've been creating organic content for some time and you've got a pretty good sense of exactly what it is that your audience wants, and you keep creating it. And so you're starting to see the engagement, the views, the interactions, they're going up. Now, let's fast forward to actually producing content and running ad spend to it. Now that money's actually effective when it comes to retargeting ads, when it comes to getting to more people that look like your audience. You're going to see a win-win. But if you do it in reverse and you just throw money at it and you just producing content and you're not sure what's hitting or missing, I mean, even if you do have a system in place, it could do much better if you ran it organically with your research, tested it, make sure that it's all set before you start putting ad dollars behind it. That's the
Right.
best way to go.
It actually makes the ad spend better when they have that content first, which is
Absolutely.
it's tough for them to swallow that at first. And going into the mindsets, they want to throw dollars at the fear of making content. You know what I mean? Talk about that, the barriers, the mindset barriers of overcoming this. It's actually cheaper to go to the content. Talk about that.
It is. It is. It's much cheaper to go to the content because a lot of times you could be putting money into it and you may not see the return and you have no idea what to do. This is exactly what a lot of people do. They don't create the organic content because they have fear. There may be imposter syndrome. There may be fear of friends and family of seeing you, and you don't want to be on the forefront of actually producing the content. And so you'll put ad dollars around content that is really not effective and maybe very text heavy versus your voice, your face, you sharing your articulation and charisma through the camera, and it's not going to do as well. And in reality, these are dragons, as I call them. These are things that we have to slay anyway. And once you do, the game changes. When you produce organic content the correct way, and then you actually run ads behind that organic content that's already doing well, you're going to be happier with the results because you're going to quickly connect with your people and your people are going to connect with you. And as you do that, you're going to see that people are going to start looking to you as an authority. The other way around, what usually happens is it doesn't work. And then you've done this before, not meaning you, but the people who are saying this, you hide. I've had some clients before where we start the process with creating content and we're talking about it and we get to the space to where it's time to actually get in front of the camera and produce the content, and there are all these different obstacles that come up, and we have to have a meeting. I say, look, I know exactly what you're feeling, and I've been there, and it's all here. No one is created perfectly. We're all imperfectly made in 1,000 ways, millions of ways, shapes, and forms. But what you don't know, the speech impediment that you think that you have, or the look that you think that you have that you don't think that people like, there are people that are looking for that. Do you know why? Because they can relate to you. When you share information, you share your unique lived experience, that's actually a superpower. And there's someone that is waiting to hear that information told the way that only you can tell it. And when we hide and we don't create the content, or we actually produce barriers between us and the content, and sometimes that's ad dollars, you're actually prolonging the inevitable, or you won't go forward. This is actually like, so when we talk about doing business just in general, small business, big business, marketing and advertising is a component of doing that business. And little do we know, marketing and advertising is on easy mode. I don't know about you, but I can remember distinctly, to get on television, you were famous. And it took money to get on television. Now, the traditional marketing has changed somewhat. It's not so much only on television, it's on social media platforms. It's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. What people don't talk about is there is a heightened level of credibility and authority when your audience, your clients, your potential prospects, when they see you on those platforms, you're elevated to a new all-time high, because a lot of times you've done something that most in that space may not be doing. And when it comes to you being the authority and you being the expert versus a prospect, they're looking at you like, oh yeah, they're ready. They're them. You know what I mean? I want to listen to them and hear them more. They start coming to you like you are the expert. But
Right.
here's the secret. You are.
Right. You're the authority, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story to tell. I tell that to every one of my clients. You each have a different story to tell that resonates with your target. So, I mean, you talk about that in your course, storytelling. Talk about that, about how storytelling is so powerful for marketing.
Storytelling is the meat on the bone. It is the context. Have you ever heard some information that seemed like it was pretty cool, it was exciting, and then you forgot all about it? Stories have been shared for millions of years. This used to be the way that we would transfer actual information. And
Right.
it is a way that we retain information still now to this day. Each and every person has a very, very, very unique story. You have to remember that when people are coming to buy something, there's something in depth that you have in common with them. And when you share that story, it connects the dots, because it doesn't matter who you are or what business that you're in. There's a reason that you got into this business. There's a reason that you have passion associated to this. When you release that, when you share that with people, you change the playing field completely. You go from authority to being inspirational. A lot of times I can share a different story about me getting into content creation, or the different people that I've worked with and the different experiences and my unique lived experience that led to me actually creating content, and it resonates with people. And I'll share a little bit of it with you right now. Coming up, growing up, there was poverty that I experienced, and I always wanted things to look better. You see how I'm connecting the dots with the visual and creating content versus then and now. I wanted things to always look better, and for some reason, I felt like I was totally out of control with that. I wasn't in touch with it. It wasn't something that I can wrap my hands around the gears and just shift and change. But fast forward in my life now, there are tools. I can grab a camera and I can change the angle. I can change the color science. I can change whatever it is that I show you through the lens of my camera, because now I am in control. And now I'm passionate about the ideal of sharing that control with other people. Once you take control of your business by the content that you create, by sharing the pictures and the representation that you want people to see, they no longer have to go through this deficit of not having the things that they want. Because as business owners, of course, we solve problems. The reason why we get in front of people and people get in front of us is because they have a pain point that they haven't figured out how to solve. The pain point for me was changing the way that life looked. And so fast forward, I spent time, years working with other people, figuring out how do I change that look? How do I make it more vibrant? How do I add more color to the experience? And once I mastered it, I found value in it. There was like joy and connection that I felt. And I see that in other people, even now to this day, when I work with them. I was on the phone earlier today with a prospective client, and I was talking to him about the importance of creating content. And they had never thought of replicating themselves and becoming a doctor, so to speak. Now, they're not a doctor, but they're a public speaker. And so they offer coaching. They share experiences with people and they help them to better understand the situations that they're in and the places that they want to go because they've been there before themselves. And they're older. So for the longest time, they figured the transformation can only happen as a result of being right there in person with them. And I told them, when you look into the eye of the camera and you share your most authentic self with your story, there's something that happens on the other side. And when you're in the same space with that person that you're talking to, it will change everything because you created this content. Now, when they come across it, they may be knocked out sleep, but there was something that you put into that message, into that story that changed everything. What a lot of people don't know is we all possess that power. All we have to do is be intentional. We're working on it. And just like everything else is something that we can master.
You kind of jump right into it about that finding that messaging. How do you help people find that messaging, helping them with being that authority? They've got behind the camera, they're trying to talk about what they do, but it's they can't get the messaging right. How do you help them with that?
So one of the first things that we have to identify, right? We identify who we are. Now, I know you may be thinking, well, I know who I am. You have a very unique lived experience, right? We got that here. We have a very unique lived experience. Then we have an actual problem that we solve. The people have that problem. You've solved that problem yourself, and you solved that problem for a reason. There's something that is connected to those two things, right? And here's this person that actually has that, right? So when it comes to you becoming an authority, the way that you do that is you offer information, you give valuable information. This valuable information solves the problems for those people. But, well, what about the messaging? How do I get the message right? You've lived a very unique lived experience. You have branded language. You have branded terms that
Yeah.
are unique to you because of the life that you've lived up until this point. That is part of your message. And I want to give you an example. Let's say there's someone who grew up on a farm, right? And they were raising cattle, they were doing a lot of gardening, and now they sell carpet. When they talk about the carpet cleaning, they may make reference to the way that this particular chemical cleans this carpet and it gets the dirt out. And they may say to you, I can just remember the dirt I would get in my jeans after I had been working all day. And there was nothing better than me getting up and finding a new clean pair of jeans that had been washed from the day before. And I still have that feeling right now today. Whenever I take this chemical and I put it into this carpet and I clean it, it reminds me of a Sunday morning back home with my folks, and I'm getting up and I'm getting ready to do this, this, and this. And so we all have a very unique message that's tied to exactly what it is that we do. And sometimes it just takes working with the right person to bring it out of you.
Right.
Once you get in the habit of talking about your unique lived experience in connection with the work that you actually do over time, it will become instinctive.
Yeah, that's the confidence, right? Finding
Absolutely.
the confidence. Everybody I work with is lacking that, trying to find the confidence to deliver that message, getting confident with that story that they my story isn't different, I'm no different than anybody. Why is my story different? But talk about that, how you kind of help them with building that confidence in their messaging.
One of the things that we do is we talk a lot about you and we talk a lot about what you've done and excuse me, and exactly what it is that you want to do in the future. And I'll tell you a little bit about one of the clients that I worked with here recently. He is an engineer, and I didn't even know it at the time, but he had a coaching program that he's putting together that he wants to bring to the market. And it was very, 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 very bland. And I asked him, well, why do you want to do this? And why is this important to you? And he told me why. I asked him, well, what do you do now? And I work at this company and I'm an engineer. It's not, not a big deal. I just want to do this. And I said, well, tell me more about the coaching program. And he did. And I said, what is the transformation that your coaching program is going to create? He said, someone else asked me about that and I don't know. I said, well, in the work that you do right now, what is it that your company does? Little did I know, they created lasers, right? And I said, well, isn't that what your program does? He said, I don't understand what you mean. I said, your program creates a transformation in people. It helps them take these different areas of their life and it brings it into focus, right? And he said, yeah, it does. I said, and once it's into focus, does it run into obstacles and just shut down, or does it cut through the obstacles? He said, man, it cuts through the obstacles. And I said, now, isn't it true that lasers require mirrors inside, right? And he said, yeah, there's an optical chamber inside of the lasers that we use. And it sends these waves against the mirrors and it brings it to focus. And I said, so it sounds a lot like your program. You take these people, their ideals and their experiences, and you bounce them off the mirrors. One mirror is them, their perspective, their principles that you help them narrow down. And the other mirror is the things that they're going against, right? And once you narrow it down into one singular focus, it cuts through all of the obstacles. And then you just make that repetitive. You do it again and again and again. And that's exactly what your coaching program does, doesn't it? And he said, man, I never thought about it that way. And so a lot of times when we don't recognize is, and all times because we're too close to it, we
Mhm.
have the answers. We have the messaging. There's a mental framework that we just have to go through to better understand it, to translate it. And once we do, we will start seeing everything that way. So it doesn't matter what your business is or what exactly what it is that you do. You have a unique lived experience. You have a conceptual ideal of exactly what it is that your program does. When you connect those two things together, you're going to come up with some very, very unique messaging. Now, I told him this same thing, and he was like, there's no way I would have came up with that in 100 years. And I said, but now it's going to be very easy for you to come up with it because I showed you exactly what it is that you need to be looking for. One of the programs that I use that I came up with, my name is Corshawn. And so I take people through this core program while we're conceptualizing exactly what it is that you want to do. Just like I just said, conceptualizing with core, you conceptualize, you organize, you refine, you execute, you bring it to market, you bring it to life because you already have many of the ideals and the concepts in your mind now. But for some reason, so far, you don't believe that they connect, and they do. One of the ways that you're going to elevate your confidence is because we're going to talk about it more and more and more. And once you get around people who celebrate you and who are on the same journey by being part of a community and working towards the same thing, you're going to increase and grow your value and your perspective of exactly what your messaging is because it's there already.
Man, that's a crazy story, man. That laser. Yeah. So, keeping it brief, we're gonna run out of time here. Let's go ahead and talk about the first steps people should be taking when they're struggling with content. What do they need to do? What's some actionable steps they can take today?
One of the first things that you should think about right now is behind the scenes content. That's what I would suggest, right? This is really easy. You can set up a tripod, and that's something that we can talk about very easy. You can set up a tripod, mobile tripod, and you can take your cell phone and put it on there and film what it is that you're doing. And then after that, you can do a small voice recording. And I'll give you an example. I want you to imagine right now over my shoulder here. This is interesting. I put that light back there right before I got on this call. It's a red light. Imagine if that red light was my phone and it's filming behind me, right? And it's just recording my back. And from back there, you can see these lights here. And you can see that I'm on my microphone. I have my headset and I'm obviously talking to someone, right? This is behind the scenes content. Then I take that video, maybe record for 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, right? And I take that video and then I get ready to upload it to social media, but I put captions on top of the video that says, today, coaching session, today, interview, what's next, today, prioritizing my day. What will I do in the morning? How am I setting up my day? All you have to do is capture some moving content or some static still content and then put in there exactly what it is that you're doing. So I worked with someone some time ago and they said, man, I want to post 3 times a day, but I don't even know where to start. What I want you to do is identify 3 core things that you do every single day that's related to your business. And I want you to set up your tripod, your camera to record them 3 times a day. And I want you to write down 3 things that you're doing each one of those times. Then I want you to take that and I want you to write it into a notebook, right? And in that notebook, you're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. For each of those days, you're going to write down what you wrote down on there. Now, of course, fast forward, we got computers. You can just type this stuff up and automate this information, right? And then it's repeatable. So I know every single day I have to look at my calendar. I know every single day I have to look at my computer. I know every single day I have to look at my roadcaster, my audio, or my camera. I have to look at those things every single day. So now you know that you can just record those things for 15 to 20 seconds. And then you can say, hey, I'm doing X right now. And next up, I'm doing this. And you can post that regularly.
Right.
You may be thinking to yourself that, oh, this is going to get old. It's going to get consistent. And people are going to see that consistency. And that's what starts building trust. So those are some actionable steps that you can do right now today.
What can people do right now to get started with you, getting your coaching program? What do they do?
All you have to do is reach out to me. You can contact me at Corshawn at Media for the Brand. That's going to be Corshawn at Media for the Brand, MEDIA for the brand.com.
Yeah, I got the cheap version of Zoom, so mine's gonna cut off, but I wanted to cut off midstream. I wanted to get this out there. I want to put out some content, get people to understand who you are, what you do, and how you can help. I work with a whole bunch of businesses here at Adbird. They all need to talk to you. So we got one done. We got one in for the record. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, absolutely. We can definitely do more, man. I'll be looking forward to it. Definitely.
No doubt, man. It was good talking to you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good, man.
So there you have it. Content is going to be the way that you mitigate that ad spend. It's going to be the way that you organically connect directly with your target market and get to spending time with your clients and get them to getting to know you and get to sharing your content and engaging with you. I definitely encourage you to reach out to Corshawn, get into his program. He offers a wealth of knowledge that you're not going to get anywhere else. So, as always, do all that crazy stuff, like, subscribe, get ready for our next episode, man. We're just gonna talk to nothing but experts in the field. All right. So, until next time, folks, here's the mighty, mighty Pixel podcast for you. Signing off. Peace.
Yeah.